So we'll start, we're going to use this session to do we've been doing the abbreviated recitations, and those are like an abbreviation of a practice that's beautiful. We have it in our Pearl of Wisdom 1 book. And what it does in this practice, all the sadhanas in the Tibetan tradition that as I see it, have really similar layouts, kind of formats. But this one, Venerable Chodron explained a lot of the parts. And there are things that you learn along the way, but here she just explained them all and put them in the practice. And so this is a really good way to learn how to put the teachings into practice, to understand what to do with your mind when you're doing the abbreviated recitations. There's a lot going on there. So when many of our practices or sadhanas, you can do quickly, like under 15 minutes. I know I've raced through a few of them, much less than that. But you can also stretch them out and do everything in between. And so there's a lot in these practices, and it's just a matter of what you have time for in a particular day and what you're needing to do for your practice. So we're going to start first with some breathing meditation to calm our minds, to bring us into this space. And we'll be doing two kinds of meditation this morning. We'll start with the breathing meditation to calm the mind. And when we do meditation during the practice today, we'll be doing the visualization of the Buddha. So we'll have time for working on our concentration, and we'll have time for understanding how the practice incorporates the Lam Rim. So we'll start with some breathing meditation. So if you're new, remember, check your posture, mostly be upright. Your hands are right on the left, thumbs touching in your lap, arms loose. If you lift your heart up, your head and neck go in a pretty natural position. You can tuck your head slightly. Yeah, and just enjoy breathing. By way of motivation, thinking about our session in front of us here, what we want to try to do this morning is to integrate our concentration practice with the Buddha's path. And the sadhana, this practice, allows us to do that. So if we understand the practices correctly, they'll help us to see our situation in samsara and our potential. And as we continue with our practice, we'll have so much more information about our minds, our heart-mind, and how we're functioning or not functioning ideally in a way that's wholesome and leads to our future happiness. So this is a great opportunity for us to really take time with all the parts of the practice and merge our mind with the Dharma. For myself, I feel like I'm running my mind through a sieve, and I'm going to catch all the stuff that needs to be discarded and then have my mind just be a Dharma mind with the qualities of a being who cares about others, but also is wise. So let's make our aspiration really extensive, to encompass all sentient beings, to encompass our own potential to be strong enough to deal with samsaric life and all that goes on, all that is going on, and use the practice to help us and to develop our skills and to rid ourselves of things that are in our way within ourselves, and put ourselves in the potential to be of the greatest benefit to every being. So we have to try to know what our potential is. So start by imagining in the space in front of you all the qualities of infinite love, compassion, wisdom, capacity. Think about all the wonderful qualities that you wish to develop. And use your imagination to imagine what it would feel like to be those qualities. Take a moment to do that. Can you feel a sense of expansiveness and peace? Think about how having a wise and kind heart that can reach out to every being, how expansive and peaceful the mind would have to be able to do that. So now imagine that all of these qualities of love, compassion, wisdom, skillful means appear in the physical form of the Buddha in the space in front of you, slightly above you, out in front and above. The Buddha is sitting on a throne. There's an open lotus and moon disk, sun and moon disk. All of this is made of radiant, transparent light. His body is golden in color. He wears the robes of a monastic. His right palm rests on his right knee. His left is in the lap, holding a bowl of nectar. The medicine to cure our afflictions and all of our hindrances. And then look at the Buddha's face. It's very beautiful, and he's gazing at you with complete acceptance, kindness, unconditional love. And he's also encompassing in his gaze all sentient beings. His eyes are long, narrow, and peaceful. His lips are red, and his earlobes are long. So this is the visualization that we'll use when we get to that point of the practice. But for now, imagine rays of light radiating from every pore of the Buddha's body, and they go out to all parts of the universe. And they carry countless miniature Buddhas that are going out to help beings everywhere. The animals that we see, and the insects, and the beautiful birds, pileated woodpecker we saw yesterday, the sentient beings who are in all sorts of situations right now, in hospitals, in nursing homes, playing soccer, up in space, in the military, in the governments, everyone, every being. And this Buddha is going out to help them. And then as they the Buddhas do their job, then they return and dissolve back into the Buddha after finishing their work. And when you see the Buddha there, imagine him being surrounded by all the other holy beings, the entire lineage of spiritual teachers, the meditation deities, the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Arhats, the Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma protectors. There are so many holy beings that are supporting us, and they're all so happy that we're here doing this practice. To the side of each teacher is a beautiful table, and and volumes of the Dharma are on there, and the sound of the Dharma fills the air. And around you, imagine all sentient beings in human form. Your mother on your left, your father on your right, any people that you're close to, your friends, whatever, nearby, any difficult people in front of you, and you're all facing the Buddha. And all the countless strangers are filling all the space around. And you are going to lead all of these sentient beings in this practice. So imagine them all in human form, very receptive. So we're all looking at the Buddha and the holy beings for guidance. And we do this because we have a sense of alarm about our situation in samsara. So we generate a mind of refuge that knows that these are the beings that can help us with what we deal with in samsaric life. Think about that. These things change so quickly in our lives, and we often we don't feel secure. Our minds get dissatisfied. We get sick. We have grief. One thing after another comes up. We get our mind peaceful and it goes away. We get something we like and it breaks. Just endless dissatisfaction. Not every moment, but it returns. So we need a remedy for this. And so think about the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And open yourself to be receptive to transforming your mind into those qualities through the guidance of the Triple Gem. We all have the capacity to become Buddhas. So we can free ourselves from all of these undesirable situations. So we resolve to explore that possibility to its fullest. Make that resolve. Turn to the Triple Gem. Turn to your own inner wisdom that we're developing. So now we'll take refuge together, and as we say these first verses, imagine light flowing into you and all the sentient beings around you. And it completely purifies and pacifies all your destructive actions, all your karmic imprints from them, all afflictions. And then the light also enriches you with all the qualities of the Buddhas. Namo Guruvya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Guruvya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Bhuvya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya. Feel that you and all the sentient beings around you have come under the protection of the three jewels. So now we're going to turn our thoughts to others and try to enhance our ability to develop bodhicitta. And so we think about how much we depend on others for everything that we have, everything that we enjoy, everything we've learned is due to the kindness of others. Any talents we have, all of our qualities actually are developed in relationship to other beings. And it's due to their kindness that we have the conditions that have given us this opportunity. It's going to take some time to think about a few specific things and feel grateful and appreciative and develop a wish to repay that kindness. Just as your innermost wish is to be free from suffering and to have happiness, this is the case for all other beings. And they're just like us, encountering difficulties, problems. And often their difficulties are much worse than ours. So now examine your capacity to help. If you're anything like me, it feels quite limited. If I can reduce my ignorance, it propels my anger and attachment, I'll be in a much better situation. It will allow me also to develop love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. All the good qualities. So develop this aspiration to become fully awakened, to develop your qualities to their fullest. And as we recite the verses, imagine that light is flowing from all the holy beings into you, and also into all the sentient beings. And all of us, our minds become enriched and purified. And we'll start with the verses. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. The Buddha is very pleased with your altruistic intention, and a replica emerges from the Buddha in front of you, comes to the crown of your head, dissolves into you. Feel inseparable from the Buddha. Feel that your mind has been inspired and transformed. Let go of any conceptions you have about yourself. Let go of any self-denigrating thoughts. Let go of the concept of inherent existence and meditate on emptiness. There is no solid I. At your heart appears a small Buddha made of light. He radiates the light of wisdom and compassion in all directions. This light transforms all the sentient beings into Buddhas, and all environments into pure lands, which are places that have conducive circumstances for practicing the Dharma, generating realizations of the path. So we've done this in our imagination, but it hasn't actually become a reality. And it's only because of our ignorance. If we could free ourselves from that, the kind of bias and prejudice that comes from that, and any lack of love, compassion, and joy, we would be able to do this. So wishing ourselves and others to have these qualities of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, let's recite the 4 immeasurables. And we'll pause after each one to just feel the texture of your mind and generate this wish for all beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. Let go of anything that's getting in the way of that. And then the next. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. Develop a real sense of concern and wish for others to be free of any kind of suffering. Let go of anything that's in the way, any hindrances, any lack of attention, any drowsiness, any animosity, anything that's in the way. And just allow this wish to fill your mind. And then the next verse. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. So wish others to have joy and rejoice in their good situations. Let go of any comparison, envy, or jealousy. Just rejoice and allow your mind to have the joy of doing that. And then the last verse. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. Imagine what that would be like, how this world would be, and wish that for every being. Bring to mind specific people. Once you are able to generate that feeling, a feeling of affection for a being or a group of beings or all beings, then hold your mind on that. Notice the lack of any bias or concern or any ignorance, anger, or attachment. And just abide in that feeling. Concentrate on that. So this beginning part of the practice is like one big long motivation. And now the rest of the practice will do things that will help us to be able to turn our minds into these qualities. We'll start with the 7-limb prayer. So we'll pause briefly after each of these. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. So imagine yourself prostrating to all the holy beings repeatedly, and imagine that you're leading all sentient beings in doing the same. And present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. So imagine beautiful objects and offer them to the field of merit. Fill the sky with lovely offerings and offer them again and again. And I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginningless time. So we do a mini purification practice. So just think of something, a harmful action that you've done that you wish to purify. The practice itself will be the remedial action. Develop regret for that. And then determine not to do it again. We've done the refuge and the bodhichitta. So bring to mind something you wish to purify, generate regret, and determine not to do that again, at least for a period of time. And rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Think about specific virtues of sentient beings and holy beings. And rejoice. Let go of any feelings of envy or jealousy. Just rejoice in all the goodness. Please remain until cyclic existence ends. So now you imagine offering a double dorje, which symbolizes long life. And you offer this to the field of merit repeatedly. And you request the holy beings, the Buddha, all the teachers, to live long and to always be a part of your life. And turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. So now you offer, excuse me. I'll find another voice. I offer a 1,000-spoke Dharma wheel to the field of merit. So this is a beautiful image that you offer, and that you request them to teach the Dharma and to guide you in your practice. And then we dedicate this. I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the Great Awakening. And then we'll make the mandala offering. So we imagine offering all the beauty in the universe we need a lot of merit in order to generate realizations and receive teachings. So we offer this to the holy beings. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, foreland sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these without any sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure and inspire me and others to be free from the three poisonous attitudes. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. So you imagine that all the beings in the field of merit receive your offerings with delight. And the offerings dissolve into light and absorb into the Buddha's heart. And then from his heart, light radiates to you and fills your body and mind, inspiring you to accomplish the path. And then to progress along the path, we need the guidance and the inspiration from our spiritual mentors, especially your principal teacher or root guru. And if you don't have one, just think of the Buddha. He's everyone's teacher. Our teachers have touched our hearts very deeply, and their inspiration is what allows us to, what helps us to keep going. So we make this request. Glorious and precious Root Guru, sit upon the lotus and moon seat on my crown, guiding me with your great kindness. Bestow upon me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. A replica of your teacher in the aspect of the Buddha emerges from the Buddha in front of you and comes to sit on a lotus and moon cushion on the crown of your head, above the crown of your head, facing the same direction as you. And the Buddha is acting like an advocate for you as we request inspiration from the lineage. And this is a long prayer. Most of you might not have this, but we'll read it because it's so beautiful. Buddha, unequaled teacher and guide, venerable protector Maitreya, his successor, superior Asanga, prophesied by the Buddha. To you, three Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, I make request. Buddha, head of the Shakya clan, the foremost guide, peerless in expounding emptiness, Manjushri, embodiment of the Buddha's complete wisdom, exalted Nagarjuna, best of the superiors, who sees the profound meaning. To you, three crowning jewels of clear exposition, I make request. Atisha, upholder of this great vehicle, who sees the profundity of dependent arising, Drome Rinpoche, elucidator of this good path. To these two ornaments of the world, I make request. Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of obligacious compassion, Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel, the snowy land sages, Losangdrapa, I make request at your feet. Holder of the white lotus, embodiment of all the conquerors' compassion, guide benefiting migrating beings in the land of snow mountains and beyond, sole deity and refuge, Tenzin Gyatso, I bow at your feet and make your request. The eyes to whom the vast scriptures are seen, supreme doors for the fortunate who would cross over to spiritual freedom, illuminators whose wise means vibrate on to the entire line of spiritual mentors, I make request. So we're going to do the Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra, and then we'll go into some concentration meditation, visualizing the Buddha. So you imagine that all of the figures in the field of merit have melted into light. They dissolve into the central figure of the Buddha in front of you. And as the embodiment of the three jewels, the Buddha now absorbs into the Buddha on the crown of your head. So as we recite the Buddha's mantra, visualize white light flows from the Buddha into you, and it purifies all negativities and obscurations, generates within you the realizations of the stages of the path, which includes our ability to concentrate. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha. 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 So visualize in front of you a Buddha made of radiant, transparent light, Shakyamuni Buddha, on a lion-throned sun and moon disk. This body is made of, is sitting in Vajra posture, The left hand holds an alms bowl. The right hand is on the right knee with the palm down. The earth-touching gesture. He's smiling. His face is very beautiful. His earlobes are long. His eyes are long and narrow. His lips are red. Bring this image to mind in the space in front of you, maybe out arm's length, slightly above you. Could be a few inches tall, up to a cubit. And then concentrate on that. If your mind veers away, try to bring it back. But once you have the image, hold whatever image you have and don't spend a lot of time recreating it. Just stabilize your mind on whatever image you have. Maybe it's just an outline, maybe it's just a color. And we'll do this. I'll do again where we ring the bell. We'll do one long session of about maybe 15 minutes. So you'll have to refresh the image every once in a while. Slowly come out of your meditation. So we'll take some questions now if anyone has questions. And one of my distractions was realizing that we have a lot of people in this room here who can help me answer them. And if we aren't able to answer any questions about this practice or the meditation that we just did, we'll save them for Venerable Children. But if anyone has questions, they could write them in, or I don't know if anyone in the room does. The one thing I'd like people to notice is kind of like the texture of your mind from when we started the practice to this moment. You start with maybe a lot of energy, and then between doing all the different parts of the practice, our mind really settles. And we spend a lot of time on the motivation. And I think that's worthwhile. I think that's one of the things I like the most about this practice is how well it's spelled out. Okay, we'll just wait a moment. If there's no questions, then we'll dedicate. Yeah.
Yesterday we had this question about the position, the body, how the body is sitting. And in my beginning years, when I started with Zen practice, there's a lot of focus on that. Mm-hmm. And the Soto Zen tradition is apparently saying that they don't sit like the Buddha. So they have the hands opposite. Oh. Because they have the attitude like a shepherd, who's leading the herd in front of them. Mm. So they are going last. But we are having a different approach to.
So the hand position is what changes it?
The left is on the right.
The meaning of that for them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they put a lot of effort on, that you're really sitting straight and still, no movement allowed. And so, but he also, like one teacher I had, he was giving us the experiment. He said, just sit like that, you can...
Leaning over.
Yeah, and see how it works. Can you meditate? Fall you rather asleep? Or then you have a strong experience yourself of the benefit of sitting straight, for example.
Yeah, yesterday in our discussion group, a woman who's meditated for a while, she hadn't, she corrected her posture, and she noted from the teaching, and she noted immediate improvement. She was having difficulties before, and so she really noticed that. And they talk about that, a lot. Something else came to mind and then it went away. Yeah, use the mic, thanks.
I think one of the, if I can say anything to our friends online today, is that don't get frustrated with yourself if you can't visualize the Buddha. You know, so much of our cultural icons and advertisements and logos and famous people, I mean, it's familiarity. It took me years to be able to feel like I could put him in the front of me besides being a statue, but have some feeling around it. So it's a very different paradigm. And so it's a relationship that takes a while to develop. And as you feel more comfortable and more integrated in the Dharma practice, and he becomes more alive for us. But it's in the beginning, where you have no context for how he looks and how to have a relationship with him.
Yeah, when you first do these practices of visualization, if you're new to it, and this style of practice, I feel personally like you're just meeting this Buddha. You have to develop a relationship. So that's kind of how it feels. Did you have a question?
Someone is asking if you could explain the hand positions during the mandala offering.
Okay, so when we offer the mandala, this hand position represents the cosmology, I guess you would say, that goes along with this visualization, which is from ancient India, which is like Mount Meru in the center, that part right there, Mount Meru. And it's got 4 continents and 8 subcontinents and all these other things around it. And so you're imagining that you're offering the whole universe, but they have a cosmology of what that universe looked like from ancient India. And so the hand position represents that. But the main thing in the mind there, and you know, if you just sit down and meditate, and that's what I want people to think about, like 15 minutes was a little long, but to me it went really fast. I was thinking, did I calculate that wrong? I was like, I thought we started at 9:54, and then I was like, okay. I had to recall because it went kind of fast. And maybe some other people had that experience too, and they might not usually have that experience. And that's the benefit of these preliminary, of setting your meditation. Like if you just plop down and try to concentrate, that's pretty difficult. But preparing the body and preparing the mind and the motivation and all that, it's like, to me, this practice is like you're doing a play or a drama, and you've created this whole scene from your mind. Now you've placed yourself and all the sentient beings in it, and you can all have harmonious relationships because you just turned everybody into Buddhas, and you have everything you need because you're in a Pure Land. So you've created this whole beautiful scenario, and now you're going to meditate in that. And so, all the various traditions have various ways of placing this concentration practice within something, within a container. So, anything else?
Question I'm asking clarification around.
Sure.
I was wondering personally.
This is your question.
So some of us might have a daily practice where we try and develop concentration on that as well. Then we also hear the benefits of concentrating on the Buddha. And I was wondering personally how you work with. It's important to be able to visualize the Buddha, our main teacher, clearly, but then also just how to balance the energy where you put it. That makes sense.
Well, I really think that's a question that you personally should ask Venerable Chodron. And for myself, what I can say is that I have certain parts of my practice where I have a relationship with the different deities that are, and it's mostly I have mantra recitations that I do, and I am kind of creative with that. And it's been good for my mind because I feel like I need to work on my mind. So I give each of them a meaning for long months and months and months at a time when I do these mantra commitments. And there's a visualization involved with that. But in terms of doing a deity practice, that's not a suitable question for me. That you want to ask your teacher or a tantric master.
The question from online is, yesterday I was able to hold my concentration pretty well, but today I'm having trouble keeping focus. Mm-hmm. Any suggestions to help me keep my focus?
Well, I would say relax and don't have any expectations, because every day is different. The morning and afternoon will be different. You might look at the conditions. I mean, you keep doing it, and then you kind of analyze and you kind of figure out what conditions are most suitable, but that won't always, it doesn't happen every time. You can't have any expectation about a particular session. But sometimes if people have, they were saying they were getting distracted, or were they getting sluggish?
They're not sure exactly what's pulling them away, but they're finding their thoughts are just jumping to different
so-
images and thoughts.
Yeah, so that's more on the restless side than the drowsy side. Because eating or sleeping too much or certain things can make you drowsy, but then things that make you restless, you might have to, what Venerable Chodron has recommended is when we start the session, you notice that we started with breathing meditation. And when they do the, what really helps is in the Lam Rim, if you look at the how to structure a meditation session, where it talks about the, it's embedded in this practice, but that can be helpful because it helps you to structure your session. And then within that, there's a part where you do some breathing meditation at the beginning of a session like we did here. And what you do there is what's important to do there is to get your mind calm before you move forward in the practice. So we first sit down and we often meditate, like in our Abbey here, we meditate for 5 minutes in silence, and then we start doing whatever we're doing. In that time, if you do, at the beginning of a session, if you do some breathing meditation, just to kind of see where you're transitioning from moving around, doing things, to now trying to sit and do whatever you're going to do. So we have the 3 parts that we talked about yesterday, a little bit of you set your motivation, you do your practice, you dedicate. But you might have to see what's going on in your mind during the breathing meditation and what you need to get your mind settled enough that you can actually do the practice that you're going to do. Because some days we're like a pot of water that's boiling, and other days we're like a pot of water that's calm and clear, everything in between. And so you may have to do some things just to get your mind settled enough. So that, I think that's very helpful. I do that every session. I do the preliminary practices in my mind. Some of them and the other ones are embedded in the practice, so that when I start a session, I'm trying to get to some even keel just to get going. And then setting your motivation can be helpful. I mean, maybe spending a little more time on motivation I think, might be able to help too. Then you have to just see, and other people here might have some ideas. I mean, we have a lot of experience with this. But anyway, when we're in retreat, sometimes you can do the breaths just as few as 10, Venerable's told me. And when we're in a retreat where we're doing 5 or 6 sessions a day, it's quite easy. The mind is very calm because you're not talking. And that not talking right there is really helpful. But then when you're living your life and you're having to interact, then it's natural that the mind would have more restless energy. So you have to have realistic expectations.
Also, just to note that this is a very short retreat. This is just day 2.
Yeah.
And, it takes time to get the mind to settle. And also, I think it's worthwhile noting that we're living in a very turbulent time.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to take people longer to get settled, especially if they're looking at a lot of news or even just the conversations that happen.
Yeah.
They can be very unnerving and ungrounding. So I think we have to work doubly hard to be ready for our meditation sessions in this day and age.
Yeah, I would say the people here probably feel that way. We're really impacted by the world. And I'm having a much harder time. My equanimity is like out the window. Seriously. I usually don't have so much trouble, but I'm very impacted by what's going on, and yeah, I have to work harder at that. And I have to have more realistic expectations. Like I am impacted. We are impacted by our environment, by what's going on. And even if you're not following the news a lot, which I'm actually not right now, I still, I just see the smallest thing and I'm like, wow. In my hometown, a young kid murdered his girlfriend's young child. And he's, facing 25 to 50 years, and he just says, I'm not a monster. And I'm like, yeah, you're not a monster, but look what happened. It's like, and I just saw, the little bit of that, and I'm like, whoa, it's unnerving, some of this stuff. So realistic expectations, and you have to kind of watch, and this is, the little picture of what's happening in your home, but the bigger picture of what we're exposed to and what's going on.
I think it's also important to note that we can't measure session by session,
Yes.
evaluate session by session. Oh, that one was good. That one was bad. Oh, I was really all over the place. I better quit. The point actually is not to feel good at the end of the session. The point is not to even have been stable as a point. But what we're doing is cultivating over a very long period of time a different habit of the mind,
Right.
and cultivating a level of awareness so that we know what's happening in the mind. That that your mind is all over the place is probably an improvement in previous.
Yes.
Right? We don't even notice your mind is doing that. And His Holiness last night when he spoke he was so clear about this and so very kind. He was talking about the masters have practiced day after day, and we too can practice day after day. And then he said, then days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months, and months turn into years, and in that way we make progress.
Right.
So doing this every day, he said, if you work for days on, you'll see a change in a month. And after a month or years, you can look back and see how much change you have made. That's what he said. But between, this morning's session and this afternoon session,
Right. Too short.
too short.
Too short.
Too short.
Those are really important points.
Yeah, we need a big long-term mind for this.
Yeah. Yeah. We're almost out of time.
Someone's asking, can Venerable Tapa please explain more about using creativity to inspire our practice and visualizations from her years of experience?
Creativity.
That you mentioned with your
Okay,
mat.
well, I have certain mantras that I do every day, and they have different deities. And I have certain problems in my mind, and I have certain needs for both peace and inspiration and all kinds of things. And so when I do my mantra recitations, which I do every morning, I usually, for months and months and months on time, I have a certain theme for each of the various Buddhas and the mantra that I'm doing. And it's just a natural fit, and I let it evolve. And I mean, the Buddhas have all the good qualities, and I'm their little disciple here who's, like faltering here and there and needing help, needing shoring up. And so I recognize what I need, and I try to use the mantra to work on that. Like, so I don't like to just repeat mantras with no purpose, I guess. I'm kind of like a action-oriented person. I have to have a purpose in what I'm doing. And so for me, like, I have just different themes. Like, for instance, I do the Medicine Buddha mantra every morning. I often think about healing. It's the first one I do. I often just think about healing. I think about healing my mind from all of the junk. I need to heal my life, my mind, and they're simple themes. And I just focus on the Buddha and, that Buddha and like the visualization, and just do the mantra and try to inspire myself to, like, you can heal. You're changing all the time. Why not change in a positive direction? Things like that. It's not rocket science. It's not complex. It's very uncomplex. Like, really, like if I think about Chenrezig, I often think about compassion, but I do that later on, because I'm not quite at compassion necessarily at the beginning. So I have a certain order I do them in, and I do the same order every day, and I have a theme for each one. But I don't know. I mean, that's very personal. I'm not recommending anything to anybody. I'm just, I'm just trying to make meaning. My teacher told me, Darshan Rinpoche told me about statues, that these are pieces of metal and we imbue them with meaning. And so I took a little bit of license there, and I imbue the mantra with the specific meaning. I mean, the Buddhas have all the qualities, but I'm kind of needing certain ones sometimes. Okay, so we're going to close with that, and we'll do the dedication. So let's sit quietly, and then we'll dedicate the merit. So reestablish the visualization of the Buddha on the crown of your head. Calm the mind. Think about something that you want to take away from this session. And now imagine that the Buddha on the crown of your head melts into light and dissolves into you. Your body, speech, and mind become inseparable from those of Shakyamuni Buddha. You're healed. You have compassion, wisdom,